Hey, has anyone else ever noticed how the people who leave the most critical and insulting comments are always absolute nobodies on this website? They'll leave a comment, but they haven't even got a profile picture. Let's jump right in and read some vegan comments, shall we? Haha, I can see you're not familiar with veganism. New territory, huh? Well, you're right, Arden. It is new territory for me to be debating this on the internet, and I hope that the arguments that I hear here are better than the ones that I hear in real life. In real life, I'm surrounded by vegans or ex-vegans. There's the two categories. The ones that I know that eat meat always tell me that they used to be vegan, and a lot of people I know nowadays used to eat a lot of meat and now have become vegans. So it works both ways. And we don't argue. We talk about these things sometimes, and the people who know me know that I'm happy for them to eat whatever the hell they want, and they've got no way of convincing me to stop eating meat. So yeah, I'm just here having my free speech. Checking out Arden's profile, he has some subscribers, definitely, but nobody knows why, because he does fuck all online apparently. Now Cody tries to explain human moral value to me. Moral value is the term that is used to describe how prioritized the subject is on a scale of sentience to receive protection from harm and suffering. Humans, as far as we know, have the greatest extent of sentience, so humans are seen as having the most moral value. By who? Who gives humans the most moral value? Vegans? Because I sure don't. I give the most value, if we're talking about protection from harm and suffering, the most value I give is to my pets. 100%, most definitely. And so, like, I've had dogs as pets, I've had rats, I've had cats. These animals are not more intelligent than me, they're not more sentient than me, they are definitely more innocent than I am. And so, on that scale, they share more with the food that I eat. Humans are planet cancer, and I am a human. I accept the fact that I'm a human. Humans eat meat. I'm eating meat. The meat is available. I'm not going out and killing this meat and then wasting it or anything like that. I'm not in a situation where it's my choice whether the animal lives or dies. The animal is dead long before it gets to me. Okay, so I don't know who's giving the most moral value to humans. A chimpanzee has slightly less sentience, so they are slightly lower on the moral value scale, and so on. This is ridiculous. What, a chimpanzee? Okay, let's look at prisons, since the only chimpanzees I know of are the ones in the wild that obviously don't come into contact with very many humans, and therefore it's not relevant how much sentience they're afforded. But then there's the ones in captivity, like zoos. Now you think about how much space a chimpanzee has compared to a prison cell, and how much space a prisoner has. Are we really giving less moral value to a chimpanzee than those prisoners? Because I don't think we are, and those prisoners are humans. These things are not just black and white. Like, there's all kinds of things to take into consideration. You can't just, like, focus on one point. It's like if you see an ugly girl with blonde hair, and then someone says, oh, I don't find her attractive, and you're saying, oh, you don't find her attractive because she's got blonde hair, and it's like, well, no, there's a lot of factors. She's not attractive, regardless of what colour her hair is. It's a terrible example, but it's an example. Moral value is the base assumption you have to make in order to discuss ethics. Essentially, you have to claim that well-being equals good, and also we should promote good. What is good? There is no objective good, and this is where the idea of objective morality versus subjective morality comes into the argument, which Isaac already threw out. He said he didn't care if morality was subjective or objective, and in doing so, he suggested that morality itself did not come into play. So if morality doesn't come into play, then neither does the concept of good and evil, or good and bad, whatever you want to go with. It's what's good for the caterpillar is bad for the bird. What's the caterpillar living up and growing and becoming a butterfly is less food for the birds. If the bird comes and eats the caterpillar before it's got a chance to become a butterfly, that's good for the bird and bad for the caterpillar. Or good for the bird's chicks, which is good for the bird's species. Like that caterpillar's death has helped to continue a lineage, and vice versa. By the bird not catching the caterpillar, that caterpillar is then able to continue its lineage. So who's to say which life has more value? At the end of the day, it's just down to fate. It's down to whatever happens, happens. There's no way of saying that was a good act or a moral act or an evil act or whatever. It doesn't come into the question. The question is, like, what is the reality of the situation that I find myself in right now? The situation is I'm hungry and there's bacon in my fridge. I will have a bacon sandwich. I don't care that pigs are very intelligent animals. It's fucking dead. It's in my fridge. Okay, so because I don't agree with the concept of good and evil or good and bad, whatever, well-being equals good. Well-being for who? Humans are planet cancer, so the very idea of the well-being of humans means that you have to consider the eradication of the planet, the complete global destruction of everything. Because humans are just going to destroy the planet. That's what we're doing. And vice versa. If you consider the well-being of the planet to be important, then you're suggesting that we should eradicate all human life, because humans are going to do nothing but destroy the planet. So you can only have it one way or the other. It's the same question. And the reality of the situation is it's a constant struggle that we are just a part of, and your life is an insignificant dot within. So just appreciate the dot that you've got, appreciate the time that you've been given, and don't fucking worry about it. Shit is out of your hands, alright? If you want to make a petition about it, if you want to make a petition saying like, oh, we should kill everybody's firstborn child because that will stop the overpopulation problem, I'm fine with that. Like, make the fucking petition. We can, people who agree with it can sign it. People who really agree with it and support it can donate to that cause. This is how things work. It'll go to a vote, and the majority of people will decide if it's something that we want to go with or not. And that's to do with education. If you educate the population correctly, then you're more likely to pass laws much quicker. If you educated us on the actual problems rather than trying this bullshit, man, with all the fucking twisted heartstrings. Oh no, you're torturing animals. I'm not torturing anything, right? If somebody said to me, you can either have a job working in a slaughterhouse or you can never work again, I would never work again. It's as simple as that. And if everybody felt the way that I do about it, there would be no fucking meat to sell. But that's not the way humanity works. We're all different. There are some people who are genuinely good at that and they want to do that with their lives. I don't know why, but these people exist and it's not my fault. There's nothing I can do about it, right? I'm just a person living my life and I enjoy eating meat and there's no reason not to. Right. The argument relies on the fact that you value either your own life or another human life. I don't. If you don't have any moral system and you don't value anything, then you're wasting your time arguing ethics. I'm not arguing ethics. I'm pointing out my position versus what he's saying, because what Isaac is trying to get across is that this is a universal standard that should be applied. He's just saying he doesn't understand why people don't agree with his own personal reasons for becoming a vegan. And I'm saying that his personal reasons for becoming a vegan and the argument that he's shown is not enough to convince me to become a vegan. I'm still going to be a meat eater. Obviously, ethics are subjective. This isn't even an argument you need to propose. If you're going to come into an ethics argument and say ethics don't exist, then you just spent hours wasting your time for the sake of publishing a condescending, shitty 20-minute video. I didn't really follow that. I'll be honest with you. None of that really made any sense to me. When did I do any of that? Obviously, ethics are subjective. Right, okay. I'll take your word for it. I'm not going to argue that point. This isn't an argument you need to propose. Okay, I don't care one way or the other at this point. You haven't really described to me what ethics are. If you're going to come into an ethical argument, I'm not. I'm coming into a is my lifestyle acceptable argument, but okay, an ethical argument and say ethics don't exist. Ethics do exist, but they only exist within human society, don't they? They only exist within our brains, right? If you went over to a wolf and said, like, you know, ethically what's the right thing to do, even if the wolf could understand English, it's not going to know the concept of ethics, especially not the way that you see it. Then you just spent hours wasting your time publishing a condescending shitty 20-minute video. We're well aware ethics are not an objective standard. Okay, so if they're not an objective standard, then why have you just wasted a paragraph of your time talking about that? Hence Isaac's point that in order to get to veganism, you must first value life. Right, well, I value every second of life, and I'm so happy that there is other life on this planet with me. In that respect, I value every single life that exists. However, I'm also realistic enough to know that however much I value something, that doesn't mean that other people value it the same way, and it definitely doesn't stop it from dying, right? Everything dies. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that even if you value a car very highly, that doesn't stop somebody coming along and smashing your car to pieces. Like, you have to accept that these things happen. This is the reality of existence. Okay? Just accept reality. You didn't debunk the argument, agreed, that was a terrible term. I refuted his argument with my own brain. You simply put the argument into a situation where it doesn't apply. Now here's the main reason that I made this entire video, actually. Nihilism. If you want to base a society on moral nihilism, good fucking luck. Right, I don't. What I'm suggesting is not that society is heading into nihilism or that society should be run in a nihilistic way. I'm saying that's where we've come from. That's what we've grown out of. That's what we've evolved from. This is not a perfect system. Nothing about this system is perfect, and we can't just stop this system and then implement some kind of perfect system, because nobody agrees, for a start. Secondly, it's just literally impossible to stop every single cog in the entire system. Like, we're talking about everything economically, education, like society itself. You can't just stop it. You can't just switch it off. That should be obvious to you. The only thing that can happen is we can change small things over time, incrementally over time, right? Things will evolve. That's how we got into this situation. It's a broken system, and it will always be broken, because as we're trying to fix it, we're also evolving as people to a point where something that was fine before is now also broken. So there's no way of even catching up. We're steadily losing, and that's why we're being held back in the dark ages by silly things like religion and, in your opinion, eating meat. And that's fine, but what I'm saying is you can't just switch this system off. People like me do exist, okay? And we are happy eating meat. I will go to McDonald's even though I know it's full of drugs and it's terrible for me. And you can't give me any of this bullshit about it's bad for my body either, because I smoke and I drink. So I literally couldn't give two fucks how bad it is for my body. I don't want to live forever. I don't know why you think you can live forever, or why you don't understand that these animals will die anyway. And the best thing that we can do is put a bullet in their heads rather than letting them suffer to death like we do with humans. But I'll get into that more later. Ethics are an important construct for a society to exist peacefully. They have been constructed over time along with society in order to extend the peace. It was more of a sort of, okay, this is working, what are we doing right? Do you know what I mean? Okay, well, ethically that makes sense, it's sound. That's kind of what happened. It evolved. And promote the most well-being possible, if you like. I'm not going to argue with you. I'm sure you're very thankful that you don't have to worry about a tribe of people breaking your door down, stealing your shit, raping you, and then killing you. Actually, you're an idiot, because that kind of shit happens all the fucking time. Maybe not a tribe of people, but gangs of people do go around breaking people's doors down and like stealing the shit and raping people. Killings happen every single fucking day. Where's fucking Captain Ethics to help those people, eh? Like, you must have lived such a sheltered life to believe that everybody holds these ethics that stop these things from happening. It's laws that stop these things happening more often. Believe me, there's nothing but the law stopping this happening, because when the people that want to do these things do them, and that's against the law, we can throw them in prison to stop them from repeat offending. That's the only thing that's stopping those things happening more regularly. They do happen, and it's horrible, and it's real, and you should open your fucking eyes, you idiot. Like, seriously. Ethics are the reason that doesn't happen. No, it's the law that stops that from happening. You're a fucking moron. Yeah, we treat humans so fucking good, don't we? Cody ONeal, you are a literal nobody. Like, fucking nobody. Not a single subscriber, not a single video, nothing. You're a nobody. I've just wasted my time talking to an absolute fucking nobody, just a ghost. I'd be cool with another species trying to eat me. That's a quote from me. Odd how people argue out of bad faith, attempting to stay consistent, but when they apply not caring if eaten by another species to their kids and loved ones for fun, taste, pleasures, then they change it on the spot. Well, I'm not changing it on the spot. You're a fucking moron. I'm glad he attempted to argue his ideas, though. It means he's thinking, or beginning to think. You're an idiot. I'd be cool with another species trying to eat me. Yeah, it's called the fucking wild, mate. It's not nice out there. You know, if you ever actually leave your social boundaries and go out into the wild, you'll find that there's a lot of species out there that want to eat you. And you know what? As much as I love my loved ones, I am very much aware that they will die one day. So, you know, if an animal decides, if they go somewhere where an animal decides that it wants to eat them, I'm not going to stop them going there. The animal's not going to give a fuck. There's nothing I can do about it at that point. I would be helpless against them. I'd find out about it. I'd be gutted that my family have died. But like I say, what the fuck can I do about it? I'd have to be cool with it. I'd literally have to get over it, wouldn't I? Because life goes on. Yeah? It's not a fucking hugfest. It's the wild. So, Banana, you're another person who's got fucking loads of subscribers for no real reason and literally no activity, nothing going on that account. You're a fucking nobody, mate. But that comment comes from the quote that he took comes from a conversation that I had with Lucifer Iblis or something. Okay, so the quote, I'd be cool with another species trying to eat me, comes from this conversation I was having with Lucifer Ibis, who went on to ask me to clarify there. He says, no problem. You say it would be acceptable to you. Am I to take it that you won't try to defend yourself? And I followed up by giving a hypothetical situation where I was captured or raised by an advanced alien race, and if I can't speak their language, then obviously I can't understand what they're talking about or anything. And maybe they raise me in a situation where I feel perfectly at home. I've got no reason to question anything. Kind of like a penguin, really, just waddling about living my existence, you know. If one day they then took me into a room that I'd never been in before and shot me in the back of the head, there would never have been a point at which I could defend myself. There's no way of me knowing. There's no way of me stopping them from wanting to eat me. I've lived my life without predators, so what, you know, I'm not complaining about it. Now, obviously, that's not true in every circumstance. There are circumstances where you might be abused, but look at abuse victims, right? If you really need to know how you would react in that kind of situation, there have been studies done, and we know full well that it's a lot harder to realise that this shit's going on than what you'd like to think when you're looking at it through a window. From the outside perspective, it obviously looks different. It's easier to see what's going on. It's clearer. So yeah, if you were in that situation where you'd been raised and you were being abused your entire life, I still don't think you'd know or be able to defend yourself against somebody killing you and eating you. I don't understand. It's like you think that the animals or anyone in that situation would be omnipotent and understand all the ins and outs of the situation, but that's just absolutely not true. They've been raised in this system, and they've been raised for this system. You couldn't just free them either. They are property. As much as you don't like it, and as much as you're going to make references to the slaves and say, oh, that's unethical treatment and stuff, and yeah, fair point, but they were still property, and this is why it took so long for these things to change. It took a long time. And then I go on to say, realistically, did you see that bear? So he goes on to give an example of why he thinks the bear doesn't count. He suggests that bear is not a moral agent. Where is it? Oh, yeah. The bear, we're on the second line at the end. The bear is irrelevant for the discussion because the bear isn't a moral agent and has no understanding of right and wrong, but we as humans do. And like I said, we are obliged to live a life of minimum harm. I'm not obliged to do that. I never signed a contract agreeing to live a life of minimum harm towards other moral agents or moral patients. I never agreed to that. As much as I'd like to think I do, I'm not obliged to in any way. You talk in your video as if it's necessary, but that's far from true. No, I talked in my video as if we came from necessity. This is what society has grown out of, and this is what you people are failing to understand. Like, you're just not getting a grip on reality. This is the reality of the situation. Just deal with it. You know, it's not really that hard. Is it? Maybe it is that hard. I don't know. Lucifer, you're a fucking loser, nobody. So yeah, brilliant. YouTube's best. YouTube's brightest and finest. I hope I made this video long enough for ads.
How do I reach these kids?